Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.2.2, which I am attempting to make Kerbals a multiplanetary species. In this episode, we're doing so by trying to harvest an asteroid and get it set up. Okay, so now we have all three of our tanks plugged in, and they look like nothing more than the little arteries that stick out of a heart, which is kind of apropos, actually. I may adjust these. I'm not 100% sure if I love where they are, but they're kind of arrayed in a way that hopefully makes it so that it's a little bit easier to balance this, but I'm not sure I love their position. So I may maneuver them a little bit. I think that the weight of the asteroid itself and of the ore tank is going to wildly outweigh any amount of fuel that I get in this until much later on, at which point it's not going to matter. So one thing I would like to do before I move on is deorbit some debris. So let's go ahead and focus on Kerbin. And one thing is, these two probes that I have here actually have no control. You just fell out of range just now, didn't you? Yep. Or did your battery die? Ah, your battery died. Oh, you only had 30... I didn't have any batteries on this. Ha! I don't know why I thought that was going to work. Okay, so this is going to be orbiting the sun forever. Oh well. But there should be one more. Yeah, the ARM-A, my original failed probe, has not enough thrust to make any kind of dent in the orbit of this thing. So what I'm going to do with you is we are going to see if I can't give you an orbit that collides with Kerbin and burns up. Actually, hold on a second. This thing is designed to find and grapple targets. Let's do that instead. That sounds way more fun. If only I could target the actual... If only I could target everything center of mass. That would make this sort of thing much easier. Alright, so the plan is I am coming in... Wow. Rotate. Whoa, wrong rotate. There we go. I would like to grab this thing by the midsection here. There we go. Just grab this thing by the middle. Boom. Turn this engine off, probably. Control. Where are you at? You're a battery pack. Here we go. Control from here. Alright, what do we got to do? We're not too close to the asteroid, are we? Alright, we're pretty close. What's your orbit look like? Well, we got to do the same thing we did before, so that's going to be radial out. And normal. And ta-da! Yes! We have successful disposal of both of these bits. That makes me feel good. Okay, so now that those are taken care of and this is all set up, now you can see that my ore is actually full. Ooh, I spent too much time dallying. Let's expand an ore tank, and there we go. Boom. Now we are pouring ore into this internally inflated tank inside of the asteroid. Yes. That is fantastic. Let's save the game as we start playing with this. So now I have room for 53,000 ore inside here, and you can look that I've already dug out 76 tons of space. So within just a couple of days, like not even days, like hours probably, we're going to be able to completely eradicate well, it's actually not going to eradicate anything now that I think about it. But we are going to dig out as much space as we can and fill it with the ore that we dump into this fuel hatch. And then I can slowly take my time in turning it into liquid fuel and oxidizer, which does not have a tank yet. So as I get a little bit more space, let's stop this for the moment. As I get a little bit more space, I will be able to fill these up. Or I will be able to open these fuel and oxidizer tanks and then begin converting this ore into fuel, which should result in mass savings, I think. All right, so now let's see the power of my fully armed and operational thinger here. So action group 2 should turn on my RCS. Did I switch? Damn it, I did not. Okay. I have these mass driver RCS set up, but and I have that on the action group, but I forgot to put. I switched to the RCS I was using, and I forgot to change them into the new action group. Okay, so let's see what we need to do to get into a better encounter than that. All right, so now we have here a 254 kilometer periapsis over Kerbin, which is just going to take 21 meters per second of delta V, which is going to be a pretty unfortunate amount of time to do when we actually see that. So save the game and use the mass driver RCS to turn this whole asteroid. Oops, these are still, well, that's fine, they're not hurting anybody. Well, maybe I want to use that later. So turn that off, turn that off, turn that off. Ah, dang it, they're still using this one. What is wrong with you? Turn that off. Okay, I don't want to use monopropellant on these things. Just want to use rock, which I don't have any use for other than the mass driver. So I have some rock tanks attached here, but then everything else is just going to vent into space, I think. And I'm not terribly worried about that. Okay, so one thing I wanted to test, I wanted to see if the advanced carborundum scanner or the surface scanner did anything as far as finding out if this is one of the very small percentage of asteroids that has carborundum. And the answer is, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't help one way or the other, which is, it's fine. I'm not that worried about it. Do we have here, KerbNet? What do you have to say about things? Surface of the sun. Well, all right. Chronometric disturbance. That's fun, but useless. Okay, you can stop rotating now, maybe? It's pushing a little much, I guess. So let's warp up. Well, let's not warp up. Let's activate this engine, and we can see that this is going to be a 13-minute burn for 21 meters per second. Okay, so we're where we need to be as far as this maneuver, so let's start this incredibly long and slow burn, and hopefully this works. Because at the very least we can get this into a very favorable trajectory, and then I can send something else up that could maybe do better as far as changing this thing's trajectory. Yeah, so that's nice and slow, which is, you know, it's pretty unfortunate, but, you know, what can you do? But now I should, after just warping for 20 minutes or so, we have a fuel hatch, that's ore, that's fine. This is my fuel hatch for expand tank. Oxidizer, and liquid fuel. Huzzah, now we have all kinds of room for all kinds of things, which means we can convertotron. Bop, there we go. Now let's let that get up to temperature, and hopefully that actually starts producing a very good amount of liquid fuel and oxidizer, which I can use to refuel vessels around Kerbin. Alright, so I will be right back when this burn is over. Alright, so after exactly as long as advertised, we have now got ourselves a nice 251 kilometer periapsis over Kerbin. And even going in the right direction, I think. Yes, okay. Which is good, but that was kind of horrible, that burn. That took forever. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Well, let's see. Let me just see. Let me see. Periapsis. Circularize. What would it take? 9 hours. Oh, a 9-hour burn. Okay, that's fine. And the interesting thing is I would need 9 hours of rock. And I only have 33 minutes worth of rock that I can store in these little canisters. I would need to continue to dig because for some reason there's not actually a rock fuel hatch that you can use, which I find very strange, but what do you do, I guess. Let's expand our ore tank a little bit. So, oddly enough, it looks like you're not constrained by the drills. So the actual ISRU operation is not the thing that takes the most time. But that is about all that we can do with this one, I think. So the next step is we're going to have to send something up to... we're going to need to send a better engine up because I just do not have the time or patience to execute a 9-hour burn, and I've played around with not BetterBurnTime, but like the time control mods and other things like that to try to help with that, but I just do not have any interest in trying to make that work, so we're going to send up something a little more conventional, but that's going to be something to do a little while from now. Alright, so I've left most of this out, but what we have here are 2 more do-it-yourself kit containers with commodity return vehicles, because we need cash. So let's drop off this interstage to crash into Minmus and get this thing fired up. So we just need to push this thing radial out just a little bit to give it a nice orbit. Or at least a nice flyby trajectory so that I don't smash into the ground. Then it looks like we're going to be in darkness by the time we get there, so we're going to need to wait until dawn. Alright, so here we are just killing off the last of our horizontal velocity and lagging fiercely as we load in the Minmus shipyards. There it is, you can see it light up. That's actually really cool. So yeah, this is 2 commodity return vehicles that I wanted to get my engineer down on the shipyard started on before I send out one of my next missions, which is going to be a new batch of engineers to help speed up the process of creating these things and getting us money, because we have a lot of... we have a couple technologies that we need to research at the end of our tech tree here, but they're very expensive. The last things cost us a lot, and we have a lot of other expensive ambitions, buying units of carborundum, that sort of thing. So we want to make sure that we have the cash that we need to actually do all of our colonization and so forth. Because we're going to have to start thinking about how we're getting things out to Duna as well pretty darn soon. Whoops. Yeah, that's not the ideal way that I wanted to get this thing landed. Well, let's detach the containers anyways. Put this fail boat right here. Alright, Desley, it's your job to fix it. Where did my... Where did the Hulk constructor lander go? Or constructor rover? Did that get deleted somehow? It's not entirely unlikely that I blew it up somehow. Yeah, this is far too heavy to actually... Well, anyways, I guess we'll have to leave that mystery for later. Now let's look into construction. Well, that's good. It seems to be working all right, even though it's stretching in a strange direction. I hope this doesn't explode or anything. I guess we're gonna find out. I probably should have saved first, huh? Oh, looks like it's bouncing off. Perfect, that'll work. And fix to the ground, so we can add this to the construction queue. Beautiful. So that's gonna take plenty of time to work. So I can leave this. I have plenty of material kits on hand to make this, so we can just let that go while we go move on to the next thing. Alright, so I need a handful of engineers moving forward, so let's hire some level 2 folks. Or what's the level of the one that's there? I think I can actually train them, so we're going to go with level 0s. Let's make them less stupid. 15-ish, and then little brave. That seems fine. Random genders, and we need a total of 4. Yeah, so we'll hire 4 straight up and then just send them all up. Badoom! Deanna, Gyarados, Patrid, and Magfa. That's okay, Magfa. Alright, so the VTOL bus is just about overhead, so we are sending up our engineers. 3, 2, 1, launch. Alright, so I'm going to make an attempt anyways at meeting this directly, but it's in kind of a funky inclination, so I'm not sure how well I'm going to do with that. So this should be a pretty standard launch, so I'll check back with you in just one moment. Alright, so we have kicked off our main booster stage, and we have a trajectory that should bring us pretty darn close. So let me just finish this up, and we will tweak that so that we are coming pretty much directly into the VTOL bus. Looks like we have about a 3.7 kilometer separation in 11.5 minutes. Pretty good. Let's see what we can do, if anything, to reduce that. Oops, not that direction, that's for sure. Ooh, pretty much anything I do is making this a lot worse. Alright, let's get a little closer before I start getting excited here. So we are in 2 wildly different orbits, pretty much. Okay, so now I should be able to actually get this about right. And you'll notice I have plenty of extra fuel. I should be able to both transfer some fuel over and then also decouple this thing and send it back home for a refund on some of the cash spent. So this should be mostly reusable. Reusable as far as things are in Kerbal Space Program anyways, because it just turns into money and then money turns into parts instantly and immediately. Normally I like to use Kerbal Construction Time, but I still don't think that's been updated for 1.2.2, so I just kind of took it off the list of things that I'm worrying about getting updated and working again. Which is a shame, but you know, you gotta pick your battles as far as this is concerned. Okay, I'm gonna smash into this. Hold on. Do not smash. Please not two smashings. And shoop. Ooh, that was really close. Oh, that was awesome. Oh, that is the closest intercept that I've ever had. Like, that is the closest I've ever come in, like, immediately. I've always had to kind of correct at the last minute and then kind of fly in the last little bit. Oh, that was fun. Okay, cool. Kerchunk. Easy peasy. All right. So now we have 4 Kerbals to send over and transfer. All right, let me just double check on our supplies. This should be full up. Yep, looks like. Ooh, look at that. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I didn't know this. Fill VTOL bus. Oh my god, that's so cool. I love this. I did not know this was a thing. I learned so much just by poking around. Okay, cool. So that's done. Now let's take a look at fuel. Liquid fuel and oxidizer. Yes, there's a lot more by vessel. Crew shuttle to VTOL bus. Let's send all but like 1,000. It's F5 for safety here. Transfer over about 1,000 units of fuel, because I don't think I'm going to need that much to get this thing back home. And we're going to undock, switch to this. Something is horribly wrong. I moved all the fuel over into this thing, didn't I? Or didn't move the fuel out? I'm not sure what happened here. Okay, let's see if I can do that again without being dumb. So liquid fuel and oxidizer, vessel, from the crew shuttle to the VTOL bus. Transfer over all but like oh, maybe that was it. Maybe I just do this. Leave 1760. So let's leave like 16. There we go. That's better. Not sure what I did last time, but it was very wrong. Let's see what kind of delta V this has left as far as getting home. 360, that should be enough. Push this off, close the shield. Orbital, retrograde, and let's actually use RCS a little bit to assist. Okay, and we'll see if that's actually enough. And if not, it's not that big of a deal. All right, control from here. Let's get these guys to Minmus. And we are burning towards Minmus with the crew of 4 engineers that I will use to drastically accelerate our ability to build new ships on Minmus. This will give us crew that we need to staff each of the assembly workshops and really get things going out there. Alright, so the next thing up is another asteroid catcher. So we are going to give that a shot. But it looks like we've got some news on that command pod we were trying to return, and it burned up. Okay, it was going too fast. I knew that was a thing that could happen. There's a certain % chance, I think, that happens as if you're going over orbital velocity. So that burned up, and that's a shame, but that was 25,000 fun, so I'm not that worried about it. Oh, look at that, and the booster stage too. Well, that's a shame, but that's fine. Again, that was a total of 50,000 that we just lost. We are hoping to make more money with our ventures to return more commodities, and also with capturing another asteroid. So in just a minute, we are going to be making the first of several correction burns as we get close to that B-class asteroid that I mentioned a few episodes back that is also going to be traveling through Kerbin's sphere of influence in the coming days. I'm sending this time a little bit less hardware, but a little bit more varied. And the plan is that we are going to use this to kind of identify what we are working with before we send out anything else. So if we take a look up here, we have, in addition to the regular mining excavators, we actually have 2 radial carbonite drills to check and see if there's carbonite or carborundum. I have no idea how else to check that. We have the jaw as normal, and we even have the mass driver, and we've moved things around a little bit, but it's otherwise mostly the same. The idea for this one is to get a sense for what it is and do a little bit of digging to move it into a better trajectory, and that's just about it. Alright, so I actually did pretty well on this one. Right now our trajectory is going to take us something like 40 kilometers away, but with just a tiny little tweak when we're almost there, we should be able to get within 1 kilometer separation and 763 meters per second of relative velocity, which is actually better than I expected to be able to do. But that's not going to be for another 38 days, which gives us still another Kerbal month before it actually reaches the sphere of influence. So any amount of drilling time that we're losing by having a couple different types of drills is kind of moot. So let's schedule this burn. And I guess we'll get to this one a little bit later on. But unfortunately, I think that that's all that we are going to have the time for today. We have some other things that we're moving around. The VTOL bus is going places. We've got the Asteroid Hunter going places. In the next episode, I think we're going to be landing this and gearing up our assembly plants. But I will have to see you next time.